See how well he can do in this first moto. Justin Barcia is going to grab the whole shot of the Auto Trader Toyota Yamaha. Got another Yamaha rider right with him. That's his teammate Phil Nicoletti. So the Yamahas are 1-2. Kenny Rust gets hung up on the 58, and he almost caught our series leader Eli Tomac with him. But right now it's the Yamahas up front. Welcome back, Josh Granton, 33. He's 5th. Ryan Dungey, Chad Reed going at it for 3rd.
Another good start for Reed. He wasn't quite that happy with the last week's performance, and I don't blame him. He's a guy who's used to winning and wants to win.
Oh, Roczen and Jason Anderson. Anderson was 3rd last week. Roczen, again, your fastest qualifier today, and now they've got some work to do.
Oh, man, that is not good. That's not what any of these guys want to see. You know there's going to be frustration under those helmets. Like you said, Jason Anderson had a great start to the season, basically as a rookie on the 450, put it on the box, and our defending champion, he didn't have the last week go the way he wanted, but he was obviously hoping for a much better week this week, and guess what? He is still now at the back of the pack, 39th, and a ways to go to catch even the tail end of the group. One moto for Ken Roczen.
Oh, how about this? Phil Nicoletti makes the pass on Justin Barcia, so he is leading here at Glen Helen. And I can tell you that the Filthy Phil out of New York is not the biggest fan of the California racetracks, but he's making it work for him right now as he gets away a bit from Barcia. Dungey has secured 3rd over Reed, but Phil Nicoletti, we used to call him the fill-in because he would only have a ride if the main JGR guys were hurt. They gave him the full ride for the outdoors, so he's no longer fill-in. He's now fill-time. And getting away a bit as Dungey tries to go to work on Barcia.
Early stage of this race, but for Ryan Dungey, he's in a prime position. His rival, Eli Tomac, is behind him. Not that far, because if you have a look, Tomac now into that 5th position. So he's right there. This is going to be what we were hoping to see. These two guys near the front. Let's have it a good old dogfight, hash it out. But first, going to get around the JGR Yamaha riders who are looking pretty good right now. Phil Nicoletti goes past the mechanics here the first time, guys, having a look over the pit board. Probably not a whole lot of information to be given after one lap. No lap times, whatever. But look at this. Tomac, ET3, round the outside. Look at that.
Wow.
A long way around. Just carrying that momentum. And that's what we saw in Hangtown, Jason. He just seemed to be faster with, you know, it wasn't like he had a specific section where he was quick. He just seemed to be faster everywhere. He carried more momentum, attacked the track harder, and no one had the speed for him. I mean, he absolutely annihilated the field. Got a feeling this week it's not going to be quite the same. Not saying ET's not going to go out and win this, but I don't believe we'll see that kind of margin of victory. I think Dungey and the KTM boys did some homework. They figured a way to close that gap up. But Tomac, he came out at Hangtown, dialed, prepared. You know, him and the Honda boys have done their homework. Oh, Jason Anderson now in the mechanics area, getting some work done to the bike. I'm sure it got twisted up in that crash with Ken Roczen. But sitting in the pits, you're losing valuable time.
Barcia going back to work on Nicoletti. Nicoletti makes a mistake. Barcia into the lead. And that's got to feel good for him. It's been a rough season.
Dungey now sneaks through too. So Dungey figuring, hey, I got to go with the leaders. I want to win this championship, so I got to be up front. So now
Tomac trying to get Nicoletti as well. He's trying to shadow Barcia and Dungey through the field.
And I'm sure Dungey took a look over his shoulder coming out on those turns and saw that Eli Tomac was right there. So he wanted to get around Nicoletti, and he's hoping right now that Nicoletti can play road bike. But Tomac's momentum and his just outright speed, he's just attacking this track so hard, like we saw in Hangtown at the opening round, which gave him that dominating victory.
Another big outside line by him. Similar move in a different corner to get Nicoletti. Same way he passed Reed. So now Dungey trying to work out Barcia. Barcia on the blue 51. He is your leader. Dungey around the outside. This is that supercross type section. A couple of tight turns and some jumps. Dungey, well, that was easy. To the inside, and he's got the lead. That line was much better.
That just shows you that some of these longer lines, meaning they're going the long way around the outside, they're starting to pay off. The dirt is starting to tack up, meaning it's getting more traction. It's less sloppy on those longer lines. So you can take the longer way around purely by carrying more momentum. And that was key, because for Ryan Dungey, he knows Tomac's there. I can guarantee you he knows Tomac is not far behind him. So his thought process now is make the passes, be aggressive, get it done now, and try and break away and hope that these guys hold up the number 3 on the red bike, Eli Tomac, because we know he's got the pace to come through.
Well, it was a pretty quick pass that Dungey made on Barsha, but Barsha not normally easy to get around. They call him Bam Bam for a reason. He's not afraid to make contact, and Tomac knows that. So let's see if Tomac is going to battle with Barsha. Are they going to have a slow each other down type battle, or a push each other forward type battle? And that might make all the difference as Dungey tries to sprint away. And then it's Nicoletti, Reed, Pike 6th, Grant 7th. I said welcome back. Josh Grant missed our opener at Hangtown with some injuries, but he's back today. Metcalf 8th, Baggett 9th, Christophe Porcel is 10th. And see the countdown clock, top of the screen. It's a 30-minute moto in 2 laps, and we're only 6 minutes into it.
Wow. Tomac just seems down through that corner, feeling the pegs, jump through it. He's just doing certain things that no one else is doing. He's making big arcs out of these corners. And I guarantee if we could have a radar gun like the police force have, and you could just hold it on him as opposed to someone else, in the middle part of the corner, he's guaranteed to be a couple mile an hour quicker than most of the guys. And that is huge. And that is why he is just able to make these passes and make him look relatively easy. You know, we have heard some of the guys say it's a little tough to pass. I kind of disagree with that. I think this track has a lot of options. If you're similar pace, I understand why they think it's tough to pass. But some of these guys just forcing the issue and making it happen. And guys like Tomac just carrying just a little more momentum everywhere around this track.
Well, here's where Dungey made the move on Barsha. Let's see if Tomac can do it. No, he's not close enough. Or maybe he is. It's out of a cannon. The exit of that corner just exploded, and he's in the second.
Well, if you're Justin Barsha, you got to learn from that now. You've been passed around the outside of that corner twice. Hopefully he figures it out. Smart riders will figure this stuff out. And it's tough because your natural instinct when you're defending a position, you know someone's putting the heat on you, you want to go to those insides, make them go the long way around, because that's usually the easiest way.
Well, Ryan Dungey said he would be closer to Eli Tomac here at round 2. Right now he's ahead of him. See how it turns out as they battle up front. Taking on the toughest projects with cutting-edge technology, Titan and his team fight for America and show the world what it takes to be American-built. That's Sunday at 10 Eastern and Pacific on MAV TV. Ryan Dungey on the Red Bull KTM is your leader here at the FMF Glen Helen National, holding his own against Eli Tomac, who had a huge speed advantage over everyone a week ago at Hangtown. So we're going to see how much progress Dungey was able to make in 7 days. Tomac is definitely on his game again. See if Dungey can be quicker than he was the last time out. They've already started to distance themselves a bit from Barsha, who is in 3rd. Nicoletti 4th, Chad Reed 5th, Weston Pike 6th. Unbelievable the drive they get out of that berm on the outside.
Yeah, that line's definitely coming to its own with time going on today. But if we look at the lap times in the last lap, Ryan Dungey, 222.2. Tomac, 222.1. As we have a look at the motorsport.com whole shot replay, you see all 40 guys just going up the hill, but you see the number 51 of Barsha got his weight back, just able to get that corner first. He collects the whole shot as the rest of the other 39 riders come flying through. We see the line yet. Barsha gets that quite comfortably. Several Yamahas up there too.
Nicoletti and Rust was there also. Remember, they got the whole shot and won the first 450 Moto last year, that team with Josh Grant on board. So those Yamahas, everyone talks about the different kind of engine configuration they have with the airbox in the front of the bike. They produce some horsepower, there's no doubt about it. They get whole shots on this big start stretch. But right now, it's KTM and Dungey, and for certain, Tomac is closing in.
Well, we went to that little replay of the start, and within a matter of seconds, it seems like Eli took almost 2 seconds out of Dungey's lead. I'm not sure if Ryan made a small mistake somewhere out of camera, but now he's got the heat. This is what we actually wanted to see, the fans at home and for us in the booth. The 2 guys that have the pace. Obviously, Roxon not quite up there. He's not 100%. And with that opening lap crash too far back, but this is it. The 2 guys right now that have Well, they're 1 and 2 in points. They're 1 and 2 in the race. Mana on mana.
Well, the opening round is often a strange one in this. Everyone's guessing. You can go to the tracks and test the motorcycle, but there's nothing quite like an actual racetrack. It's never that rough. So clearly, Tomac's team had it dialed on the GEICO Honda at the opener. He won by 1.5 minutes our last race. That's one of the biggest gaps we've ever seen at the end of one of these motos. Dungey said it's not going to be that big a lead. I guarantee you we got a lot more to show than we had. They went to work testing the KTM this week. He's not getting blown out in this one. He is still leading, in fact. Tomac did close in, but I think you're right. It might have just been one mistake by Dungey, because now Tomac's got within about 10 bike lengths. Hasn't been able to close it any further. Well, Eli was one error by Dungey.
Eli switched up his lines and went through those switchbacks and went to the outside and made a little bobble. Lost a few bike lengths, but he seems to make it up immediately. And that last lap took a full second out of Dungey's lead, even though it was actually closer than that until right before the finish line. And they're starting to stretch it out for Barsha. Basically, Barsha now 10 seconds behind Tomac, 11 behind Dungey. So these guys,
quick.
Yeah, these guys are, they're not holding back. They're pushing the pace. Tomac making a few little mistakes, but he's being very aggressive. He's attacking this track. He's showing this track who's boss.
That run at the bottom has caught Tomac a couple of times as they work their way from the top back to the bottom of this track. Give you an update on Ken Roczen, by the way, who was down on lap 1, 16th after being 39. So the defending series champ trying to just, again, go into salvage mode. Here's the gap to Barsha in third. As you said, Grant, over 10 seconds now. Good run by Nicoletti, fourth. Fifth is still Reed on the discount tire, 2-2 Kawasaki. A lot better, I'd say, for Reed than last week where he was fighting to stay in the top 10. Now he's trying to get fourth from Nicoletti.
Yeah, good ride from Chad. He said he didn't quite feel it when he was up at Hangtown. And we've seen Chad when he's on his game up there. He saw him go and dominate a few years ago. Just wasn't quite feeling it, but right now got a good start, running in the top 5. Looks like he's got the pace. Looks comfortable doing it too. So wouldn't surprise me to see him get around Phil Nicoletti, put himself in that 4th position. But you know, Reedy's probably got his sights set on hopefully a podium. But we've seen it many times. 4-4 even can go and get you a podium.
That's right. It's tightened up again. Tomac versus Dungey. It's the far side of the track. The triple step up, and they call this turn the velodrome. Huge bank corner. As you can hear, there's a lot of fans there. And here's that chicane coming up on a split line section where we've seen a bunch of passes in our earlier 250 class moto.
Tomac still going to that outside. He lost a few bike lengths the last time, and I think, yeah, not that much that time. Like we said, last time it looked like he made a little mistake. His front wheel actually climbed out of the rut. He had to back it off. And when you go in this pace, when you chop the throttle instead of opening it, it can create, it literally will show you that 10 bike length differential. See all the fans hanging over the fence. We got all these almost like the terrible towels in Pittsburgh, but they're white over here at Glen Helen. They got their Glen Helen towels, and they're waving their favorite riders on. Why wouldn't you? Being here live, the fans on their feet, huge crowd. The cameras don't really show the big massive crowd around this track, and this is what they wanted to see, a good dogfight between these two guys that are probably going to be the same two guys we're talking about later in the season. Hopefully we'll have Roczen, and who knows, there's other guys knocking on the door. We've seen some good rides from some other riders. Unfortunately, Anderson having some bad luck. Pike showed us some speed last week. A lot of guys that can really knock on the door. We saw some good speed. Look at this, Tomac to the inside. Can he get it done? He's got to close that door now. Dungey launches.
Technically, Tomac was in the lead for about 10 feet, but that outside line worked. We're halfway through the moto, 15 minutes to go. In 15 minutes, you can save 15% or more on your insurance. And it's the GEICO Honda man that's hoping that this next 15 minutes is just a little bit better than the first 15 minutes. He's gotten to Dungey. Brent Metcalf, who is inside the top 10, is now in the Fram Mechanics area. The Australian veteran doing it on his own, a privateer effort, little help from Monster and Kawasaki and Dirt Candy Graphics. But he'll be headed up to Canada to fight for a championship that he won there 2 years ago. The Canadian Nationals starting shortly, I think about 2 weeks. Too bad for Medi. Always solid out here at Glen Helen. Dungey's pulled away just a little bit from Tomac. Tomac trying to close it back in. Fans are pumped. These are two of the fastest riders in the game. No excuses right now. It's one-on-one.
Wow. Did you see that? That was incredible. Tomac launched launches in that corner, whips the bike around, makes the turn in the air.
Let's send it down to Georgia.
What an unfortunate moment. It seemed that actually his front spokes were completely broken off, so there was no chance for him. So he turned around with his mechanic, went back, and after an overall good performance last week, it's a shame that his last race here ended like that.
Yeah, that's Metcalf. Too bad. That guy, you can almost pencil him in that 5 to 10 range no matter what happens, unless the spokes come out of the front wheel.
I was going to say, on a track like this, that is almost suicidal trying to ride because they're going to break and literally your front wheel will collapse and you're going to go over the bars and be in hospital.
Fans going nuts, as you said, waving the towels, Grant. This is what they wanted to see. And what I noticed is Dungey and Tomac both know where the fast lines are. They're both trying to go to the outside for a lot of these corners. So where is Tomac going to find an A-light? Down they hook onto the start stretch. Carlos Rivera, the mechanic for Dungey, cheering his guy on. Now the big Talladega turn. Tomac going unbelievably fast on the entrance.
Well, if you're going to take the long way around, you're covering more ground, you have to carry more momentum. And that's what Eli does. He just carries tons of momentum everywhere. Super aggressive. Dungey looks more calculated and controlled, but Eli just hanging it out. And like you said, Jason, where's he going to make the pass? They're both pretty similar in these areas.
Here's that split line. Now, see, again, they both wanted the outside. Tomac tried the inside the previous lap. It didn't work. So every one of these split sections, they've all kind of decided the outside for place to be.
Well, if I was Eli Tomac, I'd keep that inside line in the back of my mind, because on the last lap, if I went to the inside and had the line, I would literally pop the clutch, launch out of the rut, and just take Dungey's line away and screw his momentum up on the uphill. So maybe that's not his first choice. He's probably going to wait. He's got the pace. He's hanging on to Dungey. Keep under pressure. Maybe Dungey crashes or makes a mistake. When you're Eli Tomac, you're thinking, well, if he crashes, he might lose more ground or more points. There's still time. 12 minutes plus 2 laps to go in this race. No need to panic. Just keep that pressure on. But look at this.
Down the inside. He was using that hill, jumping up earlier. Is he able to make it work?
Dungey's on the inside. Closes the door. Tomac has to surrender. He was on the outside. Wrong place, wrong time. But Dungey's little mistake just gave that glimmer of hope for Tomac. And of course, we know Dungey knows who it is.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's coming from, where he plans to go.
Oh, this is great racing here. Another one of those split turns coming up. Ryan Dungey said he'd be more competitive against Tomac this week. He is. Wait a minute. Dungey slowing down. Does he have a bike problem? Dungey. Oh, no, I guess he just stalled it and either had to pump the electric starter button on the bike or bump it. Just lost power momentarily, and with it, the lead.
Yeah, that was weird because even with the momentum, you would have thought he would be able to bump it. Plus, these KTMs come with those push starts, which is really, really great, especially for retired athletes like myself, not having to kick that thing over. But that was really random. He may have stalled it, but it took a little while. Sometimes when these batteries get a little hot with the starter motor, it can just take a couple little pushes, but Dungey definitely losing a bunch of time.
Wow. Well, we anticipated a big battle. We just didn't think it would end like this. Look, Dungey, suddenly no power, and we thought his race might have been over. He's just lucky to be back up in second. Back here at Glen Helen, good battle between Blake Baggett and Weston Pike. That is for 6th and 7th. Want to mention ProMotocross.com gives you all the first motos here live. If you're not watching on MAV TV, check it out on there. And also all the motos can be watched on the NBC Sports Live Extra app. ProMotocross.com also has tons of other information on this championship. Results from all the races, upcoming schedule, and lots of cool features on the riders as well. So that's your battle. Pike and Baggett, 6th and 7th. Ahead of them is Reed 5th, Nicoletti 4th, Barsha 3rd, Ryan Dungey 2nd, and your leader is Eli Tomac. Baggett's team did a lot of work on just making the bike easier to ride. Talked to him and his team manager, Mike Webb. They said that really the key on the suspension was trying to make it work better in the small stuff. They had the big bumps handled, but they want to make it flush over the small obstacles. Sent it to Georgia with a little more on the number 4.
Yes, it was pretty funny. I went to get an update from them this morning between practices, and all I see is Blake Baggett on his knees, looking at everything and trying to work out what it was. He was kind of really intrigued on what was going on, how it was working, and how he wanted to change it, which normally you don't see a rider do. Get that involved in the changes and kind of take part in it.
Yeah, and oh man, Jason Anderson down again. So he was down on the first lap, had to go to the Fram Mechanics area to get the bike straightened up, and now he has crashed again. So our third place finisher at the first round, the luck has run out. Give you an update here on Ken Roczen. He has climbed up to 9th place. He was down with Anderson on the first lap, so he was 39th, he's 9th, and you can tell just by watching it, the speed, the quickness, the kind of dynamic style that we did not see at Hangtown, it's back. Maybe the result isn't what he wanted because of the crash, but he's on the gas.
Yeah, definitely not the start to the season as a defending champ you'd want. I mean, it just seems like a lot of things have been going against him. But that's the way racing goes. You got to make the most of it.
Here's your Anderson crash.
Look at the right
side.
Oh, that's that jump. Didn't get the momentum. Then he's stuck. But now he's on a blind side. So he's more. Oh, yeah. I was about to say he's more worried about being landed on. And as he does get there, so not a big issue. But that's the thing with these hills. You saw him jump. He landed on that soft stuff, and basically came to a standstill. Wow, look at this.
Trying to hold off Roczen. This is for 8th and 9th. Grant riding with some cracked ribs. He actually dislocated his jaw and bit a gigantic hole in his tongue.
He looked like a
crash
lizard.
about a week and a half ago, yeah.
He split his tongue down the middle. It looked like a lizard. They had to stitch it back together. And this was the guy that came out last year. And another one of those people that shocked us in the first moto, dominated the first moto of the season here at Glen Helen in his backyard. Great to at least see him back out there racing. He's not at 100%, but he's giving it his all. And right now he's holding off the defending champion. So both these guys running a good pace. Maybe not the position they were both hoping to be battling for.
Roczen going to try an outside line at the bottom of this hill to get into 8th. Baggett would be just ahead of them in 7th. He saw he was all over Pike, who's 6th. Then Reed, that's Grant's teammate, is 5th. So both of the 2-2 bikes up inside the top 10 right now. Oh, Roczen just eating so much roost at the bottom of these hills. Kicked out of the rear tire from Grant. Doing everything he can to get by him, but Grant, he's been around a long time. He's not easy to pass.
And he knows his track very well. Josh.
Well, just so I say he's not easy to pass, I think he just opened the door up. And
Josh
now Grant's cruising. Is there a bike problem?
The way he just set up, I think he's in excruciating pain. I saw him before the moto.
Okay.
He said it's going to be a really, really, really long day for me. And he's like, I'm just hoping for the best. And one thing about ribs, they just remind you that they're bruised and cracked the whole time because it hurts with every breath, with every bump, every G out, every hole. When you're sitting in corners like this and your suspension compresses and you'll run, your rib cage moves, it hurts. Looks like he might be heading back for pits. Bummer for JG, because now, look, there's a big gap.
Yeah, I think that might have been the last hit he was able to take. And we think he's headed that Fram Mechanics area. And that's unfortunate. Grant is one of the toughest guys out here. He has taken some huge hits through the years. And sometimes we've seen him in this situation come out, the adrenaline takes over, and he puts in a good ride. Not able to do it today. Here is Roczen. He'll gladly take an extra position. That's 8th. This is going to be a season about just scratching for every point for Roczen and then hoping that the likes of Tomac and Dungey have their problems and let him get back into the points chase.
Usually everyone has problems. It's very seldom you see someone have a great season, even though people like Carmichael and Stewart have proved differently.
Yeah.
It's really hard to have 24 consistent motos.
All right, so maybe he just gets the bad luck out of the way early. Flying it out of Los Angeles here, go to Glen Helen. We'll be right back after this. Watching a battle just outside the top 5 here at Glen Helen, the blue bike 23. That's Weston Pike holding off Blake Baggett. Full custom garage. It's going to be a wild ride, and Ian isn't stopping until it is full custom. That's full custom garage Friday, 7 Eastern and Pacific. Past the Fram Mechanics area goes Weston Pike. One of those yo-yo battles with he and Baggett. They'll get close and then they'll string apart and they'll get close again. Baggett on the yellow bike, the Yoshimura Suzuki, trying to get him. Both these guys did a lot of work on the suspension of their bikes this week. Although I'd say almost everybody does work on the suspension after round 1. They all learned some lessons for the first race.
I only chuckle because everyone goes to the first race thinking they're ready.
Yep.
Then the first race doesn't go well and everyone hits the panic button and everyone's testing.
Yeah.
And we throw everything away. We're starting from scratch. But a lot of these guys are smart enough. The teams know no need to panic. Sometimes you're not as far off as you think. You know, when Tomac dominated last week, some of these guys probably were a little nervous. But you go, different track, different day, different conditions, make a few setups, and just mentally coming into a race going, hey, we've made some improvement. I feel better. This weekend's going to be a lot better than last weekend.
Now, back in the day in this sport, all the top riders came out of Southern California. Bob Hanna, Rick Johnson, Jeff Ward, Brock Glover, Johnny O'Mara.
It was the El Cajon connection back then.
Yeah, back then with Ron
East
Lachina.
County, San Diego.
Pretty much every top factory rider, every rider that won races was in Southern California. That's really not the case anymore. So it's pretty good, I think, for these fans. They're getting to see a battle between two of their own. Pike and Baggett are both from this area. Josh Grant, who was up front earlier in this thing, is as well. It's kind of a rare species these days. Cole Sealy, we talked to him before. It's his home race, but it used to be really the entire field was California's. Now there's a few proud ones running up front. Pike has actually stretched it a bit now on Baggett. I thought Baggett was going to get him 3 or 4 laps ago, but Pike has dug down deep and looking to make it 3 of the top 6. Joe Gibbs Racing Yamahas with Nicoletti still 4th and Barsha 3rd. I'd say Barsh would be pretty happy. That'd be the first time he'd be on the podium this year, either Supercross or Motocross. So he'd be happy with that. Yeah. Wasn't able to run with Dungey or Tomac, but you got to make steps.
Justin Barsh's season's not gone how he wanted. Look at Pike. He's a little different rhythm. He's going triple and then triple into that corner, railing the outside. He has Cole Sealy. Looked good in qualifying.
Had a crash, though, earlier in this one. Yeah, and 14, number 14 is 14.
Yeah, it wasn't a big crash. He just tipped over the top of the hill at Mount St. Helen, but lost a lot of valuable time. But at least he's racing this week. Last week he was on the Asterix medical unit.
We can show you what happened here to Sealy as he's closing on Brock Tickle for 13. Here's the crash.
Yeah, it's off the hill. Watch this. Number 14, just a little too much front brake. Just tucks the front end. But you can see those valuable positions getting lost right there.
Yeah, and he's had to scramble his way back here on the 14. Didn't score any points, as we said last week. Didn't race. Took a few days off this week to make sure everything was A-OK, and then rode on a Wednesday, Thursday. So I have to wonder for him. We talk about how everyone learns so much about their bikes at the opener. Well, he didn't get that opportunity. So maybe he's learning now. Could essentially be a week behind with the setup. Is that a factor, you think?
It could be. But I would go over to Eli's truck and say, hey, what did you do? I need whatever you have, because that's obviously working.
Let's send it back to Georgia with more.
You know what's really funny is that Tickle came into the pit area and looked at his front wheel and said, like, I got a flat. And his mechanic is like, no, you don't. So he went back out. And then a few minutes later, Josh Grant came in, said exactly the same thing, thinking he had a front flat, and he didn't. So is there something about this track that specifically would make you feel like that?
Good point, Georgia. Actually, yes. You know how many times I thought with practice and just testing out here that I had a flat front? What happens is when this dirt starts packing in, it's not as fluffy as it was earlier in the day. And underneath a lot of this dirt, rocks start protruding. So when it starts grabbing your front wheels, we see Sealy trying to make the pass on Tickle, but we've seen that all day long. The outside, inside kind of how it works out in the end. But yeah, the front flat, it feels a lot like you have flat tires on this track. I thought I've had a rear or a front flat, and that's because those hard rocks come through from underneath. And I'll have to say it, I don't agree with pulling the pits thinking you had a flat front. You got to go until you know you have it. The front's literally washing away. But once in testing, I actually broke my collarbone. In this section, I had a front flat, rock pinched the tube, went flat, lost the front end on downhill, broke my collarbone. So a lot of these guys have had flats, and that's the beauty and the beast of knowing this track so well. You do get a lot of flats during testing and during the week, but in the race, you've got to ride and not think. You've got to know you got a flat before you pull it.
Oh, but I see if you ride here enough, you almost think.
You see it.
Oh, it's happened before, well, so
look
it probably
at these
happened
hills.
Again. Yeah.
The reason they're basically bunny hopping to the top of those hills, they're hitting those the rock on the faces of those hills. That basically it's almost vertical, so it's popping these guys up. And there's a lot of rocks. You don't see it. TV doesn't show it, but they're there and they're lurking, and that's why you have to be on top of it all the time. One of those rocks gets dislodged from a rut, take your wheel out, you go down, and you'll go down hard.
Speaking of lurking, Nicoletti and Reed not letting Barsha go. Only about 2.5 seconds separating all three of them, and that would be a battle for the podium with 2 laps to go. Any one of these riders would love to get 3rd place. Reed, not the performance he wanted last time out of Hangtown. We know all time he's a podium guy. in Supercross, but also outdoors. He's right there in the top of the all-time podium list, right there. One of the best ever as far as consistency outdoors. Nicoletti has never been on the podium in an outdoor moto, and Barsha needs it, as we mentioned, because he just needs to get that season back on track. So they're all going to fight pretty hard down the stretch. They're not going to settle in. Barsha has just enough of a gap right now, though, where he doesn't have to really feel the heat.
Well, if you ask probably just Barsha, as well as myself and a lot of other people, it's hard to believe that we're talking about possibly his first podium of the season.
Yes.
Supercross or motocross. So, by his standards, it's not the season he was hoping. Signed with the JGR Yamaha team. We know they got a lot of good people behind them, great machines, good infrastructure, but just injuries is anyone's worst enemy because, well, it's pretty simple. When you're sitting in the hospital trying to recover, everyone else is getting a little faster, a little stronger, a little more confident, all those things. And when you come out, you get back on the bike, you've got to play catch-up. So for Barsha, this podium would be huge, I believe, for him just mentally and just get that monkey off your back for 2015.
Yeah, shot in the arm, so to speak, for him. White flag is out. Still has Nicoletti and Reed back there.
In striking distance.
Yeah, one big mistake
yeah.
or a lap rider or anything like that. Hey, Barsha knows to use the outside of that turn now. That's where he got passed earlier.
He must have got my memo.
By this guy, Eli Tomac, who got around him for second. And then we were anticipating this big battle between Eli Tomac and Ryan Dungey. Then Dungey stalled the bike, and Tomac went by. So he's looking for 3 moto wins in the first 3 this year.
But take that out of the equation, even if it, with Dungey's stall or that little mishap there, look at the gap, 28 seconds.
Whoa.
ET has been pulling out several seconds per lap since. So a little bit of what we saw last week, maybe not quite as dramatic, but I don't care what anyone says, when you're winning at the premier level by half a minute, that's huge.
Oh, unbelievable. And again, it's over
That's
Ryan Dungey. Yeah, and we've talked about it a couple times, you know, Ricky Carmichael once lapped the field, but that was in a mud race. And we know in mud races, and that day at Millville, I remember half the field was stuck on a hill. They just couldn't even get up.
And you know what? And I have to throw this out because Ricky might get a little chuckle out of this, but I remember watching Ricky Carmichael at the 1998 Motocross of Nations at Fox Hills, England, being stuck on the hill. And Stephen Evans, I think one of the motos, bear in mind, Ricky was on a 125, Evans was on a, I think, a Yamaha 400. But I think Ricky got lapped twice. I know he got lapped once, but I think it was twice. So I think Ricky might be the only guy to be on both sides of the spectrum. Yeah. He got lapped as a champion and a legend, and then lapped everyone. So just crazy. But
well,
like you said,
mud races, that stuff happens.
Mud races, they do. But in the dry, that minute-and-a-half lead by Eli Tomac was staggering. It's something I don't recall seeing in my lifetime, and mind-blowing. But here he is, Eli Tomac, once again.
Does it again. Huge win for Eli Tomac. Same thing the first 2 motos of the year at Hangtown. And he does it again here at Glen Helen. How many times can he do it before these guys officially start getting worried? Big shakeup here on the final lap of our first moto at Glen Helen. Ryan Dungey was running second. He saw the bike again and goes back to 6th. Second time this happened in this race.
It actually
Same area.
It looks like a replay of what we saw earlier. So I got to imagine there's more to this than we know.
We were speechless after he dominated, but this week you've got a win for the first moto, still have a second moto, 30-second lead, but you did have more of a battle with Ryan Dungey this week.
Yeah, that was intense there. Man, I don't know, me and Ryan went out for a lot of laps there. I ate a lot of dirt, and honestly, I got by him when he had that stall. He did it once before that, and I almost got him on one of the short hills. But man, it's going to be a tough fight in the second moto, and you know, hopefully I can get out there and start in front of him because that dirt was gnarly to eat.
Best of luck. Thanks, Eli.
So here are the results now. Both Barsha and Nicoletti going to the podium. Double podiums for JGR Yamaha. Chad Reed 4th, Pike 5th, so that's 3 of the Joe Gibbs Racing bikes in the top 5. Dungey back to 6th. That's tough on him. Baggett holds off Roxon, Porcel, and Brayton in the top 10. Wilhan just out of the top 10 positions, and we'll send it back to Georgia.
Justin Barsha, it's good to see you up here. First moto, we get a whole shot? Second place is Justin Barsha back. Is he feeling good?
Yeah, definitely. Getting my whole auto trader tour, Yamaha dialed in. I'm feeling good. The team stuck behind me through injuries, through pain, through suffering, through everything. Can't thank Monster Energy enough for backing me. Track's awesome out here. The fans are great. Got a great start. Looking forward to second moto. Just nailing another good start and trying to get out front and run a little more out front this time than last time.
Wow, Justin Barsha's feeling good. Well done. Thank you, Justin. Teammates, down here, second and third, Filthy Phil Nicoletti. You have not had a full season in Supercross, but full season in outdoors with second race in. You got to do a lot of testing on your JGR Yamaha, but did you expect a third place?
Actually, no. I just put my head down, and Justin Barsha is my new riding partner down at Club MX. So I just pictured a day down there, and yeah, I'm super excited to give this back to all my supporters, Coy Gibbs, the whole Auto Trader, Toyota, NFAB Racing, St. Lawrence Radiology, Dr. Maresca. They've been behind me for a lot of years, and I'm just glad to finally repay them after all the years of support and give it to them. And also NFAB, Thomas Fisher, it's crazy. This is a surreal feeling, and just come out second moto and give it again.
Best of luck in the second one. Well done, Phil.
All right, Filthy Phil cleaning up in the Moto, putting it up on the box. Well done.
The all-new Geomax MX34 is the latest result of Dunlop's ongoing development with the help of top motocross pros. The all-new Geomax MX34 is the new industry standard for soft to intermediate terrain. Experience the advantage